Hi there, how's your day? Today I will be talking about a topic with the video that I filmed live on East Nanjing Road, the busiest commercial street in Shanghai, on April 17th, a Monday. It was a very warm day during the capricious April. I'm now speaking in the end of May. The weather became seriously warm just a few days ago in my village, as I felt, and exceedingly hot in many other parts of China, even in northern areas, as I read. The topic is the names of Chinese, something too common for people to think about, but I'm going to have a look at it from this perspective. First things first, Chinese characters are phonetically monosyllabic. When you hear Li Feifei or Gu Xiaohui, which is my name, you should know these names are made of three characters. As such, when you hear Yao Ming or Liu Xiang, two characters are involved. Most Chinese, regardless ethnics, are named in either two or three characters. A statistics made in 2019 showed that 84.3% of Chinese possess three characters in their full names, and 14% two characters, less than 1% four characters, and 1% for peculiarities found mostly in ethnic minorities. Since four-character names are as rare as hen's teeth, and in fact not a single Chinese known in the world stage today fits the case, then I will just leave it out and just focus on Chinese names of two and three characters. Second, the first character in someone's name is his or her family name. Contrary to Western customs, in China, people read and write the last name first, followed by the first name. For example, to someone whose family name is Chen, the given name is Gang. His name is Chen Gang instead of Gang Chen. However, I know the latter is the case in many formal occasions in the West, where a Chinese name is introduced in Western fashion, in which the given name goes before the family name. But that's purposely done in order for the Western audience not to be confused, given the different customs. Third, Chinese given names carry a good load of meanings. Not the family name which one inherits from the father's side, but the given name for Chinese usually carries a much more concrete meaning in the character itself. I know that in the West, people's given name, more often the middle name than the first name, is given to telepathize with an early king or a figure in religion or myth. Although this is not a common case in China, actually Chinese do set high store by ancestry and Confucianism. It just comes about a different way though. In the West, a middle name for instance is picked autonomously for a new life to the world as a means to remember the older or past member of the family. In China, people with altogether two characters in the full name aside for later talk. The first character in the given name of two characters, which can be considered a middle name simply because it does appear right in the middle of a name of three characters, was traditionally predetermined for family members of the same generation by an eminent ancestor. The reason I said was traditionally instead of is traditionally is because the practice ceased to be exercised a few decades ago. As to why, I will come back to it later when I talk about the middle name for marking the generation in Chinese culture. Though the middle name was set by a distant ancestor, the last character in the name was usually picked by a parent or grandparents for a desired meaning. So in conclusion, the given name in the Chinese domain has a meaning, and always a more direct meaning found in the use of the character itself, with the consideration of a good sounding in the back burner. However, in modern time, the sounding effect does play more of a role, to the extent that many parents choose the characters after the sound in naming babies. One last thing I want to point out before moving on to talk about the popular names and the meanings attached is that names like Jackie Chan or Jet Li are not their original Chinese names. Jackie and Jet are mere creation to cater for Western audience. Due to the fact that the Chinese language is monosyllabic, it should sound choppy, as it is. So Jackie Chan in no way goes by Jackie in the essential parts of China. He is commonly known by his stage name, Chen Long, which literally means become dragon. Whereas his original name, Chen Gangshen, is never heard by ordinary people. I, for one, just learned it for this topic. He has another name that is Fang Shilong, that is written in the family tree. In his case, Fang Shilong is his formal name, and Chen Gangshen is the assumed name. Chen Long his stage name, and Jackie Chan for the world. Next, I'm going to talk about the Chinese people's names of old and late, or in other words, traditions and trends. People have a natural inclination to be more interested in trends than traditions. But it's the traditions that hold in store the code of thoughts and acts for people in one community. The more distant traditions can be analogized to roots and trunks, while the later ones are branches and twigs. No matter how fresh thus luring the leaves and buds are, let alone the homogeneity of them, they grow of something more vital, and it's the more vital roots and trunks that signify the inner conditions of the tree. In life experience, sometimes we do find a few blight leaves on a healthy tree, and a perishing or perished tree still with green leaves. There's really more to truth than meets the eyes. It's mentioned earlier that close to 85% of the people in China today have three characters in their names. The first character is the family name or last name that you cannot choose. Then you have the given name in possibly two characters. The first character in the given name is now the middle name for the full name. In traditional Chinese societies, the middle name is called the character for generation, or 字辈 in Chinese, as it simply functions to sort out kings into their certain generations in the family. Examples are Jackie Chan, or Fang Shilong, and his two brothers Fang Shide and Fang Shisheng, who all fall in the character of Shi, meaning officialdom for the generation. Du Yuesheng was a famous capo mafioso in old Shanghai during 1920s and 40s. His brother was Du Yueming and his sister was Du Yuerong. Here, Yue means the moon. More personally for my family, who moved to Shanghai around 1930s, my father and his brothers, with extension to all the more distant cousins of the same generation, have Ji as their middle name. Ji means to inherit. Actually, having a two-character full name, or one character only in a given name, was not rare, and even sometimes more popular in history. So before I may stray into other aspects, I want to circle back to what happened to people without a middle name. Did they in traditional society get accepted for the social code of having a fixed symbol to show the generation, and more importantly to comply with the ancestral precept? The answer is no. There was a way for them. That is not by a character, but by the radical part of the character. To be more specific, family members of the same generation would have the same radical to mark their bond. For example, a poet called Lu You, who lived about 1,000 years ago, had cousins called Lu Jun and Lu Song. Here, the three characters You, Jun, and Song all have the same left radical suggesting water. In the novel Dreams of the Red Chamber that was created in the 17th century, there were figures called Jia Yun, Jia Rong, Jia Qiang, Jia Qing, who all have the top radical alluding to vegetations. Yet this practice isn't quite observed today. It had probably lost its pulse at the same time as the tradition of using a middle name character to mark the generation did, which happened in the wake of the Mao's era and ensuing one-child policy. Nobody knows exactly when, but the practice of using the middle name to signify the generation in China originated around 3,000 years ago and had developed a long history with varying intensities in different dynasties. There are two underpinning theories for this momentum: I Ching, or Book of Changes, and Confucianism. The Zibei middle name characters are a group of characters determined by a highly respected patriarch for either his social status or being the leader of the migration of the clan. The characters are created in the form of an antithetical verse with 6 to 14 characters in all for the progeny to use in order. The characters are always cited in reference to either Book of Changes or Classics of Confucianism, or two in one depending on the personal philosophy of the patriarch. Book of Changes is an ancient book for divination involving sub-theories such as the 5 elements and their interplay of promotion and restraint, the 10 celestial stems and 12 terrestrial branches combine with each other to produce either positive or negative qi, in addition to yin and yang and 8 trigrams. While Confucianism lectures the superiority of hierarchy and seniority attached with emphasis on morality, which sounds binding for all in talk, but is actually one-sided in walk, for the sake of harmony and stability in all dimensions of life, such as family, clan, community, country, and whatnot. In plain words, as an individual, obedience is the presumption in life, and submission to the higher is the norm in event of a dispute. Chinese are bound in this ideology because it seems impossible for people here to disentangle themselves from the idea blood is thicker than water. Cognitive control on people imposed by the ruler in the form of Confucianism has been a constant approach, just a matter of the degree of intensity. In the final part, I am going to attribute the most people's names in China throughout its history into roughly 4 phases. First is the time before 1949. Let me call it the Emperor's time, before 1911, and the warlords and the world periods between 1912 and 1949. This is a long period, but for the sake of a better prime understanding, let me round it up this way. During this long period, people were named rigorously according to the traditional doctrines of ancient divinations of Book of Changes and the moral lecturing of Confucianism. The purpose of naming is to bring good luck and eschew bad luck by creating a kind of feng shui in the aura of name down the line of divination. The other line is manifested in people's desire to venerate the ancestors, maintain the family order and tradition, extol the domestic merits, and admonish younger generations. The instance in point here is a scholar bureaucrat, Wang Anshi, in Northern Song dynasty, over 1,000 years ago. Wang was the family name, and the given names of his brothers were An Ren, An Dao, An Guo, An Shi, and An Li. An is 字辈 to show the same generation for them to share. Each second character in one's given name, which is the individual name, means respectively benevolence, way, state, world, and a ritual. In Ming Dynasty, there were brother scholars surnamed Yuan. Their given names were Zongdao, Hongdao, and Zhongdao. This is the case with the character for generation in the end instead of middle. They fell in the 字辈 of Dao, meaning the way, or Taoism. Their individual parts mean lineage, grandness, and middle. By the way, in the emperor's time of China, women weren't entitled to possess her own name, which started to change with the founding of the Republic of China in 1912. Second is the time between 1949 and the 1970s. This is Socialist China in Mao's era. During this period, 字辈 practice was still at play. Large proportions of the Chinese then lived in the country, where traditional code of conduct was still much valued. The country was cut off from the rest of the world, and the economy was at a very low level. Names of people who are getting old today bear distinct features of the time. Common characters in naming men are Hua meaning China, Qiang meaning strength, Bing meaning soldier, Yong meaning forever, De meaning morality, and phrases such as Weiming meaning for the people, Jianjun meaning building the army, Xinhua meaning new China, Xuebing meaning to learn from soldiers. For women, you saw a lot of Ying meaning heroism, Yu meaning jade, Chun meaning spring, Li meaning beautiful, Hua meaning flower, Feng meaning phoenix, Hong meaning red, and stuff like that. On October 1st, 1949, when the People's Republic of China was announced founding by Mao Zedong, in coastal Zhejiang province alone, there were 263 newborns named either Jianguo, meaning building the country, or Guoqing, meaning National Day, which both amounted to 1/8 of the overall 2,207 new babies of the day. Now comes the third distinctive period, that is 1980s to the year 2000s, the range of millennials. The most conspicuous difference of this time from the past is that the 字辈 practice of having an ancestor predetermined character in the name stopped being exercised. As to why, there are a few reasons. The two hard ones are first, the written family records and relics were vandalized during the Cultural Revolution, which left people no reference of any history in one piece. Second, the one-child policy enforced since late 1970s rendered the idea of keeping one generation of kins in an extended family insipid. The first of the two soft arguments is that the reform and opening up drove multitudes from the vast country to different mega cities across the Dominion. With the weakening of once concentrated clans and families, there is little need to bind the kins together by naming. The last reason is the globalization, especially the internet, although it doesn't simply heighten people's worldview as it's more complex, does broaden people's vision and push them further away from the hassling traditions. The characteristics of baby naming in this new era is that parents take more freedom in deciding their children's names. Thus, those names sound less serious, but more positive, bright, and catchy. Characters in example are for men, Jie meaning excellent, Wei meaning great, Pen meaning soaring, Chao meaning to surpass, Lei meaning straightforward, Jun meaning handsome. And for women, Yan meaning flamboyant, Hui meaning astute, Jing meaning quiet, Ling meaning bell, Juan meaning azalea, etc. Finally, on Gen Z and Gen Alpha, their names are impressively more in 3 characters than 2 characters. And their names carry words that sound breezy, neuter, less semantic, but more jingly. What's also noteworthy is that many boys' names sound seemingly a bit girlish. Popular instances for boys are Le meaning happy, Yang meaning sun, Hao meaning white or broad, Hao meaning pride, An meaning peace, Jia meaning superior,
我可以在这买，我就买一样东
Bo
西，鲜肉
meaning
小笼来一个。
knowledgeable,
小龙现在要等哦，可以吗
Wen
可以啊。
meaning
鲜
literature,
肉蟹粉一个16，一
Wei
个29。
meaning
1、
wise.
2、3、6只。
都是一样的。
For girls,
我想想，鲜
Xuan
肉吧。
meaning lily,
这个
Ke
鲜肉。
meaning adorable, Yan meaning beauty,
现在还买小
Tong
笼吗？
meaning sun glow,
我说你们做生煎的现在还
Xing
卖小笼吗？
meaning pleasant, Yu meaning rain, Nuo meaning promise, etc. That's pretty much the content for this topic. In China, there is a term Laobaixing, or old hundred names, referring to masses of ordinary people. Just think it might be fun for you to know. The top 6 most popular family names in China amount to 35% of the entire population of 1.4 billion. Here they are up to the top. Family name Yang in the 6th place with 370 million people. Chen, 540 million. Liu, 640 million. Wang, 850 million. And Li, 953 million. That is to say, there are 1.4 times as many Lis as the whole of British population. This is the size of population that could stand at the 17th place in the world. Thanks for watching, everyone. Last but not least, my Chinese name is Gu Xiaohui in 3 characters. Gu is the family name. It ranks the 88th place among the top 100 most popular surnames in China. My given name means dawn glow. It's interesting to think I could have been National Day or patriotism.